One thing I really dislike about internet discourse is a lot of these anime and manga only fans basically telling comic book fans how bad we are and how bad our industry is. And I just like, what gives? Like, what gives you the right to even judge? Especially when you're like, oh, we're objectively better stories. And generally speaking, they turn out to be Shonen Jump stories, which is just a bit, you know, that's you can't really talk about storytelling if you're reading Shonen Jump. That's just a bit insulting, mate. Or if you think AOT is the greatest media of all time, and I just want to speak about that. Like, I find it really obnoxious when manga fans speak over the top of comic book fans. I know it's a small issue, it's not like the end of the world, but it's just frustrating to see that a lot of them expecting comic books to just be like manga is really like it bugs me. Like, oh well, comic books need to have, I don't know, less have too much diversity and stuff like that. I'm like, if you look at all the comic books, most of them are still led by white males, but there's plenty of diversity, which is a good thing, and is why manga sold in the first place as well. And that's what really gets me. Is like they go on about diversity, but that's really what sold manga because a lot of comic books were for young boys. Well, manga came out for shonen like girls as well, and girls have been the backbone to manga and anime, and they've really supported all the other books. And you know, obviously there's still the genre aspect as well, like focusing on just superheroes has kind of affected us. And yeah, and there's also like the history as well. A lot of them don't seem to understand how not all comic books are superheroes, and just because they're a superhero doesn't mean they're bad. It's just a trope. It's just, and then they go on about the industry not being as strong. It's like, yeah, because we don't have animation to basically give us free advertising, boost the sales. And there is this one issue I always see is like, oh, I don't know where to start. It's like, well, you started somewhere with anime, and there's like millions. There's a 20 episodes coming out each week. You just pick one and you start reading. It's not that hard. Like, uh, maybe you, not every single person just randomly watches an anime. They get recommended it, and that's the same thing that happens with comic books. Someone just recommends, then they read it. It's not that difficult. It's not that deep, but they always seem to repeat these ideas, which is kind of annoying. And then we got the other side of the spectrum where they're like, oh, you guys are just old white people, which is just like some of the dialogue I will admit isn't very human, but it just works in the context of the comic book. And if you kind of understand, a lot of writers are nerds, so they're not gonna have the perfect dialogue. And the same is with anime. Like it doesn't have. If you read the transcript, you're not gonna see very humanistic dialogue because obviously you got animation which has to be exaggerated. Everything has to be exaggerated to work because that's what happened with Cowboy Bebop, right? The live action TV show basically had the same humor, but it didn't have the exaggerated facial details that the anime has. That's what made it work. And like obviously the controlling the lighting and stuff like that. But yeah, like okay, some of the dialogue isn't the best, neither is yours. Yeah, and there's also like I guess they don't think we have good stories, which just isn't true at all. It doesn't take that hard. Like you look at Image Comics and they're putting out great pieces of work. You look at Alan Moore's stuff. look at all the independents. Even DC and Marvel put out amazing runs. So yeah, that's just like I really hate manga and anime fans speaking over the top of comic book fans and acting superior. It's not even a preference at this point. It's just a, oh, I don't like the other side. I want to be more connected to this other thing. It's just, those are just my thoughts. And yeah, comment below.